My name is Olivia Harrison. I'm 37. 20 years ago, when I was 17 and pregnant, my parents called me a disgrace and threw me out like garbage. Today, they stood in the marble lobby of Springfield Memorial Hospital demanding to meet their grandson, the same son the chief of cardiac surgery they'd seen on the news. My mother clutched her Hermes Birkenstyle bag like armor. My father fussed with his Patek Philippe, both dressed to impress the child of the daughter they'd tried to erase. They had absolutely no idea what the woman who saved me had put in her will. But we'll get to that. Before we start, if this story hits you, please like and subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me tell you how karma finally showed up. Go back with me to October 2004. I was standing in my parents' living room, the one with imported Italian marble and a chandelier that cost more than most people's cars, clutching a positive pregnancy test. My hand was shaking. "You're lying," my mother said first, her voice cold as winter. No daughter of mine would be so common. The second test confirmed it. The third did too. My father didn't yell. That would have been beneath him. He walked into my room with slow, measured steps and returned with the suitcase they'd bought for my supposed college tours. He placed it by the front door, precise and clinical. "You have 10 minutes, he said, adjusting his Yale ring. "Take what fits. Leave your keys on the table." My mother watched by the grandfather clock, checking her manicure like she was shopping. "Don't call us. Don't come back. We'll tell everyone you're studying abroad." Oh, and the boy who'd promised me forever had an acceptance to Stanford, parents with lawyers, a future they protected. He blocked my number the day I told him. 10 minutes. That was all the time I had to pack up 17 years of being their daughter. I grabbed some clothes, my grandmother's necklace they'd forgotten about, and the $227 hidden in my jewelry box. The door clicked shut behind me like a judge's gavel. Final. Irreversible. That night I slept under the gazebo in Riverside Park where Owen had first kissed me. 3 nights later, someone gently shook my shoulder. Not a cop or a predator. An older woman in a cashmere coat whose face showed real concern. "You're going to freeze to death out here, child," she said. Her name was Elena Rossi. She walked her ancient poodle at dawn as a habit since her husband died. She'd seen me curled on the bench, my suitcase my pillow, and she couldn't walk past me. I lied, "I'm fine," through chattering teeth, but she saw my face, then my belly. Even at barely 2 months, she knew. When I finally let myself cry, the kind of cry I'd been holding back for 3 days, she sat on that cold bench and held me like I mattered. "Come," she said. "Pierre and I need company for breakfast." Her car smelled of lavender and leather. Heated seats felt like heaven. She drove me to a house that spread across a lot the size of a small park. 8 bedrooms for 1 widow and a geriatric poodle. "I lost my daughter," she told me simply as she showed me around. A car accident 5 years earlier, her daughter had been pregnant too. The room she offered had already been prepared. Crib assembled, maternity clothes with tags in the closet. "This is yours now," Elena said. "No questions, no conditions. Everybody deserves a second chance." "Why?" I whispered. She touched a framed photo on the dresser. A young woman with Elena's eyes and smile. "Because Sophia would have wanted me to." That night I slept in a real bed for the first time in 72 hours. Pierre the poodle, curled up at my feet like a guardian. Elena didn't just give me shelter. She gave me a future. While my parents told the country club crowd I was studying in Switzerland, I learned to breathe again in a nursery decorated with stars. Seagar arrived during a February blizzard, screaming perfect. Elena held my hand through 18 hours of labor and whispered strength into me when I had none left. She cut the cord at my request and was the first to hold him after I did. "He's brilliant," she declared minutes after he was born. She wasn't wrong. Seagar walked at 9 months, read at 3, and was placed in gifted programs before kindergarten. I took night classes for my GED, then community college courses online, while he absorbed knowledge like other kids absorbed cartoons. Elena owned 3 restaurants, Rossi's downtown, the Bistro on 5th, and the cafe by the university. She put me to work as a hostess, then taught me inventory scheduling, margins. "You're not just working here," she told me. "You're learning to run an empire." When Seagar was 7, he performed surgery on a teddy bear using practice sutures from YouTube. At 10 he was reading my anatomy textbooks. At 16 Harvard Medical School accepted him early. The same year, Lance Mitchell walked into Rossi's to update Elena's will. Tall, steady, kind eyes and awful jokes, he made me laugh for the first time in years. "Your son's remarkable," Lance said over a coffee that turned into dinner. "His grandmother deserves the credit." I hadn't been talking about Elena, but she had been organizing protection for the family she chose, including legal provisions. She'd been planning ahead. Everything changed the day the Springfield Gazette ran the headline, "20-year-old surgeon becomes youngest department chief in state history." Seagar's photo took up half the front page, surgical scrubs, the cardiac wing in the background. The article used his full name, Dr. Olivia Harrison, MD, PhD. My maiden name, the one my parents thought they'd buried, was back in print. Within hours the story went viral. Prodigy doctor saves 3 lives in one day. Gen Z surgeon revolutionizes heart care. The real-life Doogie Howser. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost didn't check the voicemail. "Olivia," my mother's voice said, after 20 years of silence, "we need to discuss our grandson." "Our grandson? Not your son. Not Seagar. Our grandson." As if he were an object they'd suddenly remembered belonged to them. Then the corporate email arrived at Rossi's. Professional and cold, sent from Harrison Industries. "Dear Olivia, recent news regarding Seagar's achievements has come to our attention. As his grandparents, we feel it is time to reconnect." Lance found me crying in my office, not sad, furious. "They want him now that he's successful," I said. 20 years of nothing, and now they want to claim him. "What do you want to do?" Lance asked. "Make them disappear," I snapped. He pulled me close. "We can do that. But let me check Elena's papers first. She'd mentioned clauses about protecting the family you choose." They started small. A reservation at Rossi's under a fake name, sitting in my section and watching me work. I recognized my mother's emerald ring before I recognized her face. Age had not been kind, Botox trying to outrun bitterness. "Good evening. I'm Olivia," I said. "Ollie," she corrected flatly, then set down her menu like a judge. My father placed his menu down the same way. "We need to discuss Seagar." "You need to leave," I told them. They didn't. "Got it, thumbs up. I'll rewrite this section smoothly and naturally, keeping every event, emotion, and key moment intact but with fresh wording and flow so it feels like an original polished version." Packages started arriving at the hospital soon after. A Rolex Submariner. A Montblanc pin set. Even a first edition of Grey's Anatomy worth thousands. Each came with a note signed *, "Your loving grandparents." Seagar brought them home looking puzzled. "Mom, someone keeps sending me luxury gifts. Should I be worried?" "Send them back," I told him. "All of them." The next move came in the form of a letter. A formal request for grandparent visitation rights. Lance read it aloud and actually laughed. "They're claiming an established family bond," he said. "The same bond they destroyed with this." He pulled out a photocopy, the legal document my parents signed 20 years ago, relinquishing all parental rights and responsibilities. "They didn't just throw you out, Olivia," he said quietly. "They legally erased you, and any children you might ever have." But my parents weren't done. They hired a private investigator to track Seagar's daily routine. They called the hospital board, introducing themselves as Dr. Harrison's proud grandparents, angling for invitations to fundraisers. The final straw came when my mother cornered Seagar at a coffee shop near the hospital. "You look just like your grandfather," she said, stepping into his path. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" he asked. "I'm your grandmother, sweetheart. Your mother has kept us apart." He called me immediately. "Mom, some woman claiming to be my grandmother just ambushed me. Should I call security?" "Yes," I said. "Always." Then came the call I never expected, 2 a.m. From Owen. "Liv, it's me. Please don't hang up." 20 years later, he still thought those words meant something. "What do you want, Owen?" "I saw the news about Seagar. He's incredible. Our son." Our son. When I was 17 and scared, Seagar was my problem. Now that he was saving lives, Owen remembered his DNA. "He doesn't know you exist," I said. Let's keep it that way. That's not fair. I was 18, Liv. My parents threatened. To what? I snapped. Disown you? Kick you out? Make you sleep in parks while pregnant? Silence. I'm divorced now, he finally said. My startup failed. I've lost everything. I just want to know him. He's my blood. Blood. I repeated. You blocked me when I needed you most. Then he slipped. Your parents reached out. They think if I'm involved, you'll listen. They said they'd help me financially. I hung up and called Lance. They're working together, I said. My parents and Owen. They're planning something. Good, Lance said. Conspiracies leave evidence. Forward me everything. Calls, emails, texts. Elena was very clear about documentation. By morning, Owen sent a long email about father's rights, CCing my parents. Buried in his signature line was proof. Consultant, Harrison Industries, Family Relations. They actually hired him, I said. The man who abandoned me. Lance nodded grimly. Elena warned us. Family isn't blood. It's the people who choose to stay. If you've ever had to protect your peace from family, who only remember you once you succeed, you'll understand this next part. Please like this video, it helps others fighting for healthy boundaries. Now let me show you what happened when my parents tried to turn public sympathy into power. Tuesday 3:00 p.m. Seagar was 8 hours into a pediatric heart surgery when my parents walked into Springfield Memorial's VIP lobby. We're here to see our grandson, Dr. Harrison, my mother announced to the receptionist loud enough for everyone to hear. We're his grandparents, the Harrisons of Harrison Industries. The receptionist didn't call Seagar. She called security. This is outrageous, my father thundered, his voice echoing through the marble hall. We've donated millions to this hospital. Our grandson is chief of surgery. We demand to see him. Visitors froze. Doctors whispered. Someone started recording. My mother, ever the performer, pulled out a monogrammed handkerchief. 20 years we've been kept from him, she cried. We just want to meet our only grandchild. Security arrived as I did, Lance by my side. Ma'am, sir, the guard said. Dr. Harrison is currently in surgery. Then we'll wait, my father declared, taking a seat like he owned the place. And considering the plaques on the walls, maybe he thought he did. The head of security turned to me. Mrs. Mitchell, how would you like to handle this? My mother froze. Mitchell? You remarried? You gave our grandson another man's name. He never had your name, I said calmly. You made sure of that when you signed him away. The crowd murmured. My father's face darkened. How dare you? Just then the doors opened. Seagar stepped out, still in scrubs, as the baby he'd just saved was wheeled to recovery. He looked around, the cameras, the chaos, the two strangers causing a scene. Are these the people who've been stalking me? Yes, I said. Then I want them removed. He didn't even look at them again. But my parents didn't leave quietly. They went to the Channel 7 news van outside instead. Within an hour, cameras were rolling. My mother had changed outfits, now in a St. John's suit, pearls polished for pity. My father stood beside her, Harvard tie perfectly centered. 20 years ago, she told reporter Jennifer Chun, there was a misunderstanding. We were shocked when our teenage daughter got pregnant. We reacted poorly, but we've been trying to make amends. We're just being denied access to our only grandchild. She dabbed fake tears with that same embroidered handkerchief. Dr. Harrison is a medical pioneer, the reporter prompted. You must be proud. Incredibly proud, my father said smoothly. The Harrison family has always valued excellence. It's in his blood. In his blood. The same blood they'd rejected when it lived inside me. What would you say to your daughter now? Jennifer asked. My mother turned to the camera. Olivia, sweetheart, we forgive you. We just want our family back together. Please don't punish Seagar for our mistakes. They forgave me. By 6 p.m. the segment aired. By 7 it had over 50,000 views on my mother's Facebook page, the same one she'd turned into a lifestyle brand. Comments flooded in. Family is everything. Let them meet their grandson. Why so cruel, Olivia? Lance closed his laptop. They just made a critical mistake. Going public? I asked. No, he said, claiming they forgive you. That's an admission of guilt, and we have the paperwork to prove exactly what they did. The next morning, the hospital administrator called me in. Olivia, Dr. Morrison said, twisting his Montblanc pen, this situation is delicate. The Harrisons have donated over $12 million. The board is concerned. Concerned about what? The optics. Perhaps one brief, supervised meeting would calm things down. Would you meet the people who threw you out pregnant? I asked. He looked away. It's not my decision, but it could affect Dr. Harrison's position. Are you threatening my son's job? No, just considering all angles. At Rossi's, even customers had opinions. Family is complicated, one woman said as I refilled her wine. But forgiveness is divine, don't you think? Even my staff whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. 20 years is a long time to hold a grudge. As if being legally disowned while pregnant was the same as forgetting a birthday. That night, Seagar came home exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. Mom, he said, collapsing on the couch. I had 3 surgeries delayed today because reporters kept trying to get into the OR. I'm sorry, baby. I'll fix this. It's not your fault, he sighed. But maybe if we just met them once, I could tell them to back off in person. No, I said. They signed papers saying you didn't exist. He paused. Can I see them? Lance, who'd been expecting that moment, pulled out the folder. This is what they signed, he said. Seagar read aloud. Asterisk we, Robert and Margaret Harrison, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Olivia Harrison and any children born or unborn. Asterisk his voice stayed calm, but his knuckles whitened. They signed this while you were pregnant? Yes. And this part, we acknowledge no financial, emotional, or legal obligations. They really wrote that. They did. He set the document down carefully the way he handles scalpels. Tell me everything, Mom. From the beginning. So I did. The 10 minutes. The suitcase. The park bench. Owen's silence. Everything I'd spent 20 years protecting him from spilled out across the kitchen while Lance held my hand. Owen Blake is my biological father, Seagar said. Yes. The same one who just declared bankruptcy. He sighed. I know. I Googled him months ago. He's been viewing my profile on LinkedIn every week for 6 months. My brilliant boy, I whispered. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. Because I didn't want to ruin your peace. He looked back at the papers. Grandma Elena. She was the only real family, wasn't she? Yes, Lance said. And she left you everything with conditions. Your biological grandparents can't touch a penny if they abandoned you. How much? 15 million. Plus the restaurants. Seagar actually laughed. They're fighting this hard for money they already lost? They don't know they've lost it yet, Lance said. But they're about to. They invited us to Bernardino's, the most pretentious restaurant in Springfield. All white tablecloths and waiters who judge your wine pronunciation. Thank you for coming, my mother said, as if this were a social victory. Before the water even arrived, my father slid a folder across the table. Let's skip small talk, he said. Inside. A contract on Harrison Industries letterhead. $5 million placed in trust for Seagar immediately, he said. Another 5 when he joins the board. All we ask is a public reconciliation. A family photo for the press release. You're trying to buy us, I said. We're investing in our legacy, my mother corrected, adjusting her pearls. Seagar is a Harrison. He deserves that name. The name you took from me, I said. We're offering to restore it. The IPO launches next month. Harrison Industries, 3 generations of excellence. It tests beautifully with focus groups. They had focus grouped our reconciliation. And Owen? I asked. My father's jaw tightened. Mr. Blake is a separate matter. Is he? I said. Because he told me you're paying him as a consultant. My mother's mask slipped. That's a misunderstanding. Lance finally spoke. Is it? Because we have emails, something about a finder's fee. You've been monitoring our communications, my father barked. No, Lance said. Owen forwarded them to Olivia. CC'd you actually. He's not very bright. They shared a look. The same one they'd exchanged when deciding my fate 20 years ago. The offer stands, my father said, throwing cash on the table. But not for long. As they left, my mother turned back. That boy deserves to know his real family. He does, I said. That's why he'll never know you. That night, Lance worked late, documents spread across the table like evidence in a criminal trial, which in a way they were. Olivia, come look at this. He opened an email chain months old, starting before the first news article about Seagar. From Robert.Harrison@harrisonindustries.com, mail to Robert.Harrison@harrisonindustries.com, to owenblake204@gmail.com, mail to owenblake204@gmail.com, subject, consultation agreement, Mr. Blake. Per our discussion, you'll receive 10% of any assets recovered through reconciliation with our daughter. Your role: establish paternal connection with SH. Leverage for maternal cooperation. They're calling my son assets recovered, I whispered. Keep reading, Lance said. Owen's reply: happy to help. Olivia's emotional. If I push the right buttons about Miss Father-Son moments, she'll cave. Suggest we coordinate pressure. You from the grandparent angle, me from father's rights. $500,000 up front seems fair. He's selling access to Seagar, I said. He was, Lance corrected. Now it's evidence of conspiracy and harassment. But there was more. Owen had messaged Seagar on LinkedIn 3 days earlier. Son, I know your mother poisoned you against me, but I'm your father. Your grandparents agree we could build something great together. The Harrison legacy meets Blake innovation. Seagar hadn't told me because he didn't need to. He'd reported Owen for harassment, got him banned, and then forwarded Owen's bankruptcy filings to the Harrison board. The board voted to terminate all consultant contracts immediately. They don't even know yet, Lance said. Sometimes karma just needs a good lawyer. He opened Elena's safe with the code she made me memorize. 07-23-2005, Seagar's birthday. She updated this every year, he said, pulling out the leather-bound will. But this clause never changed. He flipped to page 7, paragraph 4, highlighted in yellow. Should any biological relative who abandoned, disowned, or rejected Olivia Harrison or her son, Seagar Harrison, attempt to claim relationship or assets following success or recognition, they are permanently barred from any inheritance, property, or financial gain from my estate. She knew, I whispered. She knew this would happen. Lance smiled softly. She didn't just save you, Olivia. She made sure no one could ever hurt you again. He tapped play on the iPad. Elena's face appeared, recorded months before her death. If you're seeing this video, Elena began, her voice steady even though cancer had taken its toll. It means Robert and Margaret Harrison have finally slithered back into the light. She gave a faint, knowing smile. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. Yes, I know exactly who you are, she continued. The day I met Olivia, I hired investigators. I know about those 10 minutes, the packed suitcase, and that family portrait you turned face down. My chest tightened. Even on her deathbed, Elena had still been protecting us. You discarded something priceless, she said softly. I found her. I loved her. She became my daughter in every way that matters. And Seagar my grandson. As for you, you're nothing more than ghosts. Just names on a legal document ensuring you'll never harm them again. Then she looked directly into the camera. Olivia, my love, they'll come to you with apologies, promises, and money. Don't believe a word. You already have everything, every restaurant, every investment, this house, and $15 million, all in your name, secured in trust. They can't touch it. They can't touch you. Be free. The timestamp showed she'd recorded it the day before she passed. This is where it gets beautiful, Lance said, pulling out another folder. Inside was the original document, the abandonment papers my parents had signed 2 decades ago. I'd seen copies, but holding the real thing was different. Heavier. Final. Their signatures bold and deliberate, like they were signing a business deal, not disowning their daughter. They didn't just send you away, Lance explained. They legally emancipated you and permanently gave up all parental rights. He pointed to a paragraph highlighted in yellow. Clause 6. This relinquishment extends forever to any future children, born or unborn. He looked up. So legally they have zero claim to Seagar. They made that decision 20 years ago. On camera they can lie, say they didn't understand, but this document is ironclad. Irreversible. I thought of my father's Harvard law degree, my mother's obsession with fine print. They had known exactly what they were signing. They hadn't just erased me. They'd erased every possibility of family that might follow. Lance added, if they keep harassing you after this, we can file for a restraining order, or even criminal harassment charges. Jail time. They'd never risk that, I muttered. Exactly. Their image is everything, Lance said. So we give them one chance to walk away quietly. If they don't, we go public. At the gala. At the gala, I echoed. 500 guests, full press coverage. Everything they built their reputation on, undone by their own signatures. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Elena thought of everything. She loved you, Lance said softly. This was her final gift. The Springfield Memorial Gala was just 3 days away. 500 guests, national coverage, and Seagar delivering the keynote speech on family, legacy, and healing. We'll invite them, I said, holding the pearl-white invitation cards. Lance's eyebrow lifted. You're sure? Elena left us the weapons. It's time to use them. I wrote each invitation by hand. Dear Mother and Father, please join us at the Springfield Memorial Gala to receive your inheritance from the Elena Rossi estate. Formal documentation will be presented. Olivia and another. Dear Owen, your attendance is requested regarding Seagar's patrimony and your parental rights. Legal clarification will be provided. Olivia Harrison Mitchell, they'll think they've won, Lance murmured as he sealed the envelopes. Exactly, I said. An hour later, all 3 RSVPs came back confirmed. Every one of them accepted within minutes. They think they're walking into victory, Lance said. Perfect, I replied. The sweetest defeats happen right after the victory dance. If you've ever had to face the people who were supposed to protect you, and didn't, comment strength below. I read every one of them. And you'll want to stay for what happens next. When the truth of their signatures becomes the weapon that destroys their lies. The Springfield Memorial Ballroom shimmered with gold light intention. Crystal chandeliers, white orchids, and front and center. My parents at table 1, acting like they owned the place. My mother wore vintage Chanel, her victory outfit. My father kept glancing at his Patek Philippe, timing his grand entrance. Owen fidgeted beside them in a too small tux. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer called, please welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Seagar Harrison. My son walked up in his scrubs. Not a suit, not a tux, just the uniform of someone who'd saved lives. The audience whispered. My parents' smiles froze. Good evening, Seagar began. Tonight, I want to talk about family. Not the one you're born into, but the one that chooses you. My mother straightened proudly, until he continued. 20 years ago, a 17-year-old girl was thrown out of her home for being pregnant. She slept in parks, ate from vending machines, until a woman named Elena Rossi found her. The ballroom fell silent. My father's hand stiffened around his champagne glass. Elena wasn't related to us, but she understood love. She became my grandmother. She gave my mother shelter, dignity, and hope. She gave me life. Behind him, a 20-foot image of Elena appeared, smiling, radiant. Everything I am, Seagar said, is because of 2 women, my mother Olivia Harrison Mitchell, and my grandmother Elena Rossi, who taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. My parents were no longer smiling. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the Elena Rossi Foundation for Teen Mothers, he continued. $5 million in funding, housing, childcare, education. A chance for young women abandoned by their families to build new ones. The LED screen changed. Elena's face appeared again. If you're watching this, her voice filled the hall, then my grandson is living the purpose I always knew he would. When Olivia needed family, where were the Harrisons? When Seagar took his first steps, said his first words, saved his first life, where were they? Every eye turned toward table 1. I leave everything to my real family, she said. To Olivia, my daughter by choice, and Seagar, my grandson by love. And to those who abandoned them, she paused, staring into the camera, I leave you only the truth of what you threw away. Seagar returned to the podium. I want to thank my family for being here tonight, my mom and Lance, who taught me what a real father is. My mother shot up from her seat. We're your grandparents, she shouted. Your blood. The ballroom froze. No, Seagar said calmly, his voice echoing through the silence. You're strangers who share DNA. There's a difference. How dare you? My father bellowed. Mr. Mitchell, Seagar said, glancing toward Lance. I believe you have something to show them. Lance rose, folder in hand, walking to the stage with slow, deliberate steps. This is absurd, my father shouted, charging forward, face flushed with rage. We have rights. He's our grandson. Security moved in, but Lance raised his hand. Let them come. My mother grabbed a microphone from the nearest table. This is our grandson, she screamed. They've turned him against us. My mother screamed, her voice cracking under the weight of humiliation. We made one mistake 20 years ago. One mistake. I rose from my seat, my voice cutting through the ballroom like a blade. You gave me 10 minutes to pack my life into a bag. You turned my portrait to the wall. You signed documents erasing me, and the child I was carrying. The crowd gasped. Phones rose into the air, capturing everything. That was different, my mother shrieked. You were a disgrace, pregnant at 17. I was your daughter, I said. Owen tried to slip toward the exit, but 2 security guards blocked his path. Mr. Blake, Lance said, his voice steady through the podium mic. Don't leave yet. This involves you too. I don't, Owen stammered. You don't what? Lance's eyes locked on him. You're not the biological father who walked away from a pregnant teenager? Or the consultant being paid by the Harrisons to manipulate their daughter? My father lunged forward. You can't prove. Actually, Lance interrupted, clicking a remote. I can. The massive screen lit up with a flood of emails. Every deceit, every payment, every word of their conspiracy splashed across 40 feet of LED for 500 witnesses to see. 10% of recovered assets, Lance read aloud. Push emotional buttons. Mention Miss Father-son moments. She's always been sentimental. My mother trembled in her Chanel suit. My father's Harvard lapel pin gleamed like a cruel joke. Owen looked ready to collapse. Shall we continue? Lance asked calmly. Let's talk about the documents you signed 20 years ago. The ones that cut all ties to Olivia and her future children. The ballroom held its breath. Lance clicked again, and the abandonment contract filled the screen, every word magnified. October 15, 2004, he read. We, Robert and Margaret Harrison, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Olivia Harrison and any children born or unborn. The zoom tightened on their signatures, bold, deliberate, undeniable. This clause, Lance continued, extends in perpetuity, forever, irreversible. You didn't just disown your daughter. You disowned every generation that came after her. We didn't know, my mother began weakly. You didn't know? Lance pulled up another page. Mr. Harrison, you hold a Harvard law degree. You knew exactly what you signed. My father's mouth opened and closed, wordless. And now, Lance said, you're trying to reclaim what you abandoned for profit. The audience leaned in. Even the servers had stopped moving. You threw Olivia away, Lance said. And Elena Rossi took her in. She raised your grandson, loved him, gave him everything you refused to. When Elena died, she made sure that people like you could never touch her legacy again. That money should be ours, my father shouted. Yours. Lance gestured toward the screen. You forfeited every claim when you signed those names. Look at your handwriting. You declared in ink that Seagar didn't exist to you. Channel 7's camera zoomed in. Reporters whispered into microphones. Everyone here, Lance said, sweeping his arm across the room. Every phone, every lens, you're all witnesses. The Harrisons abandoned a pregnant teenager, signed away her child, and now want to profit from his success. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some guests turned their backs on my parents entirely. Now, Lance said, let's discuss Elena Rossi's will. The projector switched again, to gold-sealed legal pages. Article 7, Section 4, Lance read. Any biological family member who previously abandoned or rejected Olivia or Seagar Harrison shall be permanently excluded from all inheritance, property, or financial benefit from this estate. She can't do that, my mother screamed. She did, Lance replied. The estate totals $15 million. Restaurants, properties, investments, all belonging to Olivia and Seagar. You receive nothing. Then he clicked once more. But Elena left you something else, a message. The screen shifted. Elena appeared again, this time looking directly into the camera, her eyes sharp with righteous calm. Robert and Margaret Harrison, she began. I know you're watching. Probably surrounded by people whose approval you crave. Good. Let them hear this. You are cowards. You threw away a treasure because you feared gossip. I found that treasure. Polished it. I helped her shine. My mother slumped into her chair. You gave your daughter 10 minutes to leave your home, Elena said. So I'm giving you 10 minutes to leave this one, this gala, this city, and their lives forever. Starting now. Lance looked at his watch. It's 8:47 p.m. At 8:57, if you're still here, the restraining orders and criminal harassment filings go live. Silence. The ballroom clock ticked like a metronome of justice. 9 minutes, Lance announced. My parents stared at the exits, trapped by shame and the gaze of hundreds of witnesses. Mr. Blake, Lance turned toward Owen. Shall we review your consulting deal? More emails appeared. Olivia's emotional. Push her buttons. $500,000 up front, Lance read aloud. That's out of context. Owen protested. Is it? Lance replied. Here's the full thread. You contacted them. You offered to manipulate the woman you abandoned. You called your son an asset to recover. Seagar stepped to the microphone. Mr. Blake, I've known who you are since I was 15, he said steadily. I saw your photos, your marriage, your new children. I watched your perfect life while my mom built hers alone. And I felt nothing. He looked him in the eyes. You know why? Because Lance Mitchell taught me to play catch. He showed up for every milestone. He's my father. You're just biology. I'm still You're a sperm donor, Seagar cut in. A bankrupt conman desperate enough to sell your son's name. The IRS already has your fraud emails. We forwarded them. Laughter broke through the tension. The crowd was no longer on their side. 8 minutes, Lance said calmly. I suggest you all leave. My father straightened. This isn't over. We'll sue. Before he could finish, the ballroom doors opened. A process server entered, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Robert Harrison, Margaret Harrison, Owen Blake, the server called. You're being served. Gasps filled the air as official envelopes were handed over. These are emergency restraining orders, the officer said. Effective immediately. You are barred from contacting or approaching Olivia Mitchell, Seagar Harrison, or Lance Mitchell within 500 feet. The crowd watched in stunned silence. You planned this, my mother spat. No, I said, standing tall. You planned this 20 years ago when you signed those papers. I'm just making sure it finally counts. The officer stepped closer. Ma'am, sir, you need to leave now, or you'll be arrested. This is assault, my father barked. This, the officer replied, is consequence. My mother clutched her handbag. You'll regret this, Olivia. The only thing I regret, I said clearly, is wasting 17 years waiting for love that never existed. They turned to leave. My father stopped at the door. That boy is our blood. Seagar's voice rang out. You bled my mother dry and left her for dead. Elena gave her a transfusion of love. That's the only blood that matters. The doors shut behind them. The ballroom erupted in thunderous applause. When it finally quieted, Seagar returned to the stage, motioning for me to join him. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, let's talk about what we're really here to celebrate. The screen showed architectural plans, the Elena Rossi Center for Young Mothers. $5 million in startup funding, he continued. 10 full medical scholarships for children of teen mothers. Housing for 20 families. Childcare during classes. Job training. Hope. I took the microphone. Every young mother who walks through our doors will receive what Elena gave me. Compassion instead of judgment, dignity instead of shame, and family instead of abandonment. The first scholarship recipient is here tonight, Segar said. Maria Santos, 17, valedictorian, single mom. Maria stood, holding her baby. Tears streamed down her face as the audience rose in applause. She'll attend Harvard pre-med this fall, I said proudly. Full scholarship with on-site childcare. Because that's exactly what Elena would have done. Lance joined us on stage. Harrison Industries Board has voted to redirect their annual charitable donations, $12 million, to the Elena Foundation, he said. The audience cheered. What he didn't say but I knew was that the anonymous matching donor was a collective of families Elena had once helped, giving back to her legacy. In 1 year, Segar said, we'll help 50 young mothers. In 10 years, 500. And maybe someday, no 17-year-old will ever have to sleep in a park again. The standing ovation lasted nearly 5 minutes. Table 1 sat empty forever. 3 weeks later, Lance handed me a newspaper. Harrison Industries stock dropped 30%, he said. Your father's out as CEO. The press branded them, the 10-minute parents. The video of them being escorted out hit 12 million views. They're selling the mansion, he added. Legal bills. Their church asked them to leave. Seems abandoning a pregnant teenager doesn't fit their values. Are you okay? Lance asked gently. I'm free, I said. For the first time in 20 years. I'm free. That night at dinner, Segar smiled. The foundation got an anonymous $50,000 donation today. We all knew who it wasn't from. 6 months later, at our weekly dinner, the tradition Elena started. Segar carved the roast using her old technique. I saved 3 lives this week, he said casually. Show off, Lance teased. The youngest was 4 months old. Her mom's 17. She reminded me of someone, Segar said softly. She moves into the center tomorrow, I replied. This was family. No DNA tests. No paperwork. Just love and choice. Elena's portrait hung above the table, fresh orchids beneath it. I'm getting married next month, I announced. Lance nearly dropped his wine. You're supposed to let me propose. Elena always said to go after what I want, I smiled, pulling out a ring. So, Lance Mitchell, will you make this official? Segar burst out laughing. Mom, you just proposed over pot roast. Elena would approve, Lance said, sliding the ring on. Yes. Absolutely yes. We toasted with Elena's crystal glasses, her smile seeming to glow in the candlelight. This was family, imperfect, chosen, unbreakable. And somewhere in a small Arizona guest house, 2 people I once called parents were learning what I'd known for years. Some choices can't be undone, but better ones can always begin. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to choose between blood and peace, remember, real family shows up when the world walks away. Like, share, and subscribe if this story reminded you that justice exists, even when it takes 20 years. And if you're that scared 17-year-old somewhere, sleeping in your car or on a friend's couch, know this. You are not alone. There is help. There is hope.